Hello, good afternoon, or good evening, or good whatever time of night or day it happens to be, wherever you happen to be. Welcome to Republic News with your hostess, Liviana. I am your hostess, Liviana, and tonight's episode is the third Precincts episode of my channel. Now, I am coming to you from a different channel than I normally do. Unfortunately, my other channel, my main channel, was hit with a copyright strike, and the result of that has yet to be determined. I have looked into it to the best of my ability to discern. It looks like they think that the video they flagged down for copyright was one of two movies by the same name, those being Operation Midnight Climax. Now, my stream, the video that was hit, was obviously not either one of those movies. It's almost 4 hours of myself and some other people talking about economic systems. If that Spanish company had bothered to pay attention to the video description or even watched a few minutes of the stream, they would have seen that it is not the movie they think it is. So I have filed a counterclaim, but who knows how long it will take before I hear anything back. So, in the meantime, I do have this channel from which I can stream. If they don't decide to remove their strike, then it'll be 9 months before I, no, 3 months, I'm sorry, before I can stream again on that channel. This is bogus, and I've complained about it to YouTube. It's an example of how their system is susceptible to abuse and so forth. But anyway, the title of that stream, Operation Midnight Climax, is actually the name of an op the CIA ran in the 1950s and 1960s. It was the primary cause of the church committee hearings in the 1970s. Since the name was coined by an agency of the United States federal government, it is in fact in the public domain. The imagery that I used, the artwork that I used for the for the thumbnail and the background of the stream was a painting by Henri Toulouse-Lautrec, an artist who's been dead for over 100 years, and that image is in the public domain in the United States, where I am and where YouTube is, and in France, which is the country of origin. So I don't think that was it. I really do, based on the history I've seen from the company in question, I really do believe they thought that my stream was an illegal upload of a movie that they have the rights to the Spanish language version of, because they've done a Spanish dub of it, you know. And they have a history of flagging down things because they own the rights to a Spanish language dub. In fact, the Snows of Mount Kilimanjaro is a movie that is in the public domain because the copyright was not renewed in time, so it slipped into the public domain. But they do have the rights to the Spanish language version of that movie, and they have hit a number of people who have uploaded the English version, and they don't have the rights to that. They certainly don't have the rights to my stream. My copyright notice was included, as well as the fair use notice for the art that I used, well, not fair use, but the fact that the image was in the public domain in both the United States and France. But anyway, with that out of the way, again, welcome to Republic News. And this episode, Lives Precincts, episode number 3, TB AJAX. We will not be talking about TB AJAX. TB AJAX was a CIA-backed coup that got rid of the president of Iran and replaced him with the Shah back in the 70s, I think it was. No. Back in the 50s? Yeah, I think it was the 50s. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that because these titles I give to my streams, we never talk about what they're about nor the image. Anyway, if you look at the image there, you can see President Harry Truman with the president of Iran at the time. This photo was taken in 1953 3, I believe. Let me see. 1951. 23rd of October 1951, President Harry Truman and Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh of Iran. This photo is in the public domain in the United States because it is a work prepared by an officer or employee of the United States government as part of that person's official duties under the terms of Title 17, Chapter 1, Section 105 of the U.S. Code. So don't hit me with another damn bogus copyright strike, you assholes. Now, moving on. I have begun to do news reading for these Pre-Saints streams, which was not what was being done in my original Friday night streams, but there was a bit of news that would be given. So I'm going to jump right in from the 18th of September, an Associated Press article. Putin seeks to defuse downing of Russian plane off Syria. A Russian reconnaissance aircraft was shot down by Syrian forces responding to an Israeli airstrike, killing all its people aboard in what President Vladimir Putin said Tuesday was, quote, a chain of tragic accidental circumstances, end quote. Excuse me, I do have a bit of a sore throat. The downing of the Il-20 highlighted the dangers posed by the conflicting interests of various powers in the crowded skies over Syria and threatened the close security ties between Russia and Israel. In an effort to maintain that relationship, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu quickly called Putin to express sorrow over the death of the plane's crew, blamed the plane's loss squarely on Syria, and offered to send Israel's Air Force chief to Moscow to share information about the incident. The Russian military said the plane was hit 35 kilometers or 22 miles offshore late Monday night as it was returning to the Russian airbase in Syria. This article goes on a bit longer. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I will include a link in the video description, so if you check back later, it should be there for you to read the entire thing for yourself. However, in other news related to Syria, from the BBC, we have an article from the 17th of September. Syria war. Oh my god, my throat is killing me. Syria war, Russia and Turkey to create buffer zone in Idlib. Another article I saw was calling it a demilitarized zone. So, Russia, and here it says, Russia and Turkey have agreed to create a demilitarized buffer zone in Syria's Idlib province to separate government forces from rebel fighters based there. Russian President Vladimir Putin said it would be 15 kilometers to 25 kilometers, or 9 to 15 miles wide, and come into force by the 15th of October. Troops from Russia, an ally of Syria's government, and Turkey, which backs the rebels, will patrol the zone. The United Nations had warned of a humanitarian catastrophe if the Syrian army launched an all-out assault to retake Idlib. And again, I'm not going to read the entire article. It goes into some detail about what the deal is and what did Putin and Erdogan say. Erdogan, the head of the Turkish government. But yes, again, I will include a link to this article in the video description so that you can read it for yourself. And now from the 20th, just yesterday, 20th of September, from Democracy Now!, CodePink's Medea Benjamin to Iran envoy, quote, "You are making a case for war with Iran," end quote. So, let's see. CodePink co-founder Medea Benjamin disrupted an event at the Hudson Institute, a conservative think tank where the U.S. Special Envoy to Iran, Brian Hook, spoke on Wednesday. Benjamin took to the stage shortly after Hook ended his speech. I thought that was rather, courteous of her to let him finish his little spiel, and then she got up and got behind the podium and started talking. She was almost immediately being confronted by at least one, I think 2 security guards, but she did manage to get out the following statement. Quote, that is the most... Okay, well, let me read the last bit of Brian Hook's presentation speech. It is time for all nations to join us in holding Iran to a new level of accountability for its destructive behavior, especially its lawless pursuit of ballistic missiles. Thank you. Then Medea Benjamin takes the stage, stands behind the podium, and announces, that is the most ridiculous thing I have seen. The world community wants to keep the Iran nuclear deal. Our allies, the Germans, the French, the British, they want to keep in this deal. The world community wants to keep the deal. Let's talk about normal countries. Let's talk about Saudi Arabia. Is that who our allies are? They are the biggest threat to the world community. And let's talk, you're hurting me, she says to one of the security personnel who had her by the arm at this point. And she goes on, you're actually hurting me. I want to ask, do you think these sanctions are hurting the regime, or are they hurting the Iranian people? They are hurting the Iranian people. You are making a case for war with Iran. How did the war with Iraq turn out? You're doing exactly the same thing we did in the case of Iraq. We don't want another war in the Middle East. Let's see, how did Iraq turn out? How did Libya turn out? We have the people of Syria suffering, and how dare you bring up the issue of Yemen? It's the Saudi bombing that is killing most people in Yemen. So let's get real. No more war. Peace with Iran. And then she was ushered out by the security personnel at the event. Now, I did read, I guess, all of that, but I will go ahead and include a link to that as well in the video description. Moving on, from The Independent, a paper from the UK. This is from, what date is this? I don't see a date. The 22nd of June. So this is a while. This is dipping back into the past a bit, but it's the first time I've heard of it. Amazon workers refuse to build tech for U.S. immigration, warning Jeff Bezos of IBM's Nazi legacy. IBM's systems were employed in the 1940s to help Hitler. We will not let that happen again. People working for Amazon have written to the company's CEO, Jeff Bezos, to protest the sale of facial recognition tools and other technology to police departments and government agencies. The workers cite the use of Amazon technology by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, agency, which have been criticized for enforcing Donald Trump's zero-tolerance policy, which has seen parents separated from their children at the U.S. border. Now, I'm going to stop right here and insert, yes, that definitely has happened, but it was also happening under Obama, which a lot of Democrats don't want to admit. Now, I am not a Republican, but I am not a Democrat either. As those of you who are familiar with my channel already probably are keenly aware, I am a Green Party member. And I have been greenish, at least, since the mid-90s. I cast my vote in 1996 for Ralph Nader, who was running on the Green Party ticket at that time for president. So, I mean, yeah, it's bad, but to pretend that it all started with Trump is just ignoring the whole status quo establishment which got us to this point and has done many of the same things. Some of those photos that were being circulated on Twitter and the like of children inside cages were actually taken during Obama's presidency and not during Trump's. Now, I'm by no means a fan of Trump. I'm not defending Trump, but I don't think he should be accused of something that he didn't do or he shouldn't be held accountable for something that someone else did. And even though his policies have continued that, he didn't start it. So to go on, these workers did send a letter to the company CEO, and it says, quote, "As ethically concerned Amazonians, we demand a choice in what we build and a say in how it is used. We learn from history, and we understand how IBM's systems were employed in the 1940s to help Hitler. IBM did not take responsibility then, and by the time their role was understood, it was too late. We will not let that happen again. The time to act is now," end quote. And there's a little bit more to the story here, and again, I will include a link in the video description so that you can read the entire thing for yourselves. You know, there is a matter of copyright. I can only share so much with you. So now I'm moving on to mixed news. This is a bit of it is good and a bit of it is bad. This is from Oregon Live at the Oregonian. Facebook will spend another $750 million in Prineville. This is from yesterday, the 20th of September. And it says, maybe Prineville will be visible from outer space. Facebook said Thursday it will spend $750 million to build 2 more massive data centers on the outskirts of the tiny central Oregon town. The project will expand the company's complex to 7 buildings and bring the total investment in the neighborhood of $2 billion. At 3.2 million square feet, Facebook's Prineville footprint will be equivalent to putting 22 Costco stores in a community of just 10,000 people. The gigantic scale notwithstanding, data centers are not major employers. They are cavernous, dark, and mostly devoid of people, consisting of dozens or hundreds of rows of computer servers packed tightly together. Facebook said it will add as many as 100 jobs to Prineville to accommodate the expansion, lifting its total workforce past 350, but the tally includes a large number of security contractors. The article goes on a bit. And it says Cook County probably isn't giving up anything, though, since Facebook is on previously vacant desert land it bought from the county, property that wasn't even on the tax rolls before the company opened its first corporate data center in 2012. Apple has a smaller server farm complex just up the road. Energy used from the data centers produces $2 million in franchise fees annually, which goes straight to Prineville's general fund. The city says they account for 4% of the city's total budget. Thursday's announcement comes just 9 months after Facebook announced its last Prineville expansion, going from 3 to 5 data centers. The company did not explain why another expansion is in the works so quickly, but the entire data center industry is growing rapidly as people post video and photos to their social networks and as companies move more of their computing to off-site data centers. And it goes on, Intel, Oregon's largest corporate employer, is a major beneficiary of that growth since it makes nearly all of the processors inside the high-end computers stacked inside these data centers. The company's data center segment recorded $5.5 billion in sales last quarter, up 27% from a year earlier. Facebook said in July it would finance 6 large solar projects, including 2 near Prineville, that will provide clean power to offset its energy use at the Oregon facilities. The company indicated it plans more clean energy projects to offset the additional power use from the 2 new buildings. And the article goes on a little further. But so, I mean, There is some mention of housing prices being affected by this. Certainly the income to the city government is a good thing, and the income to Intel in the area, which makes the processors, would also be a good thing. But there may be other things besides housing prices which might be adversely affected. So then, to move on to to actually some potentially good news from The Guardian, also from yesterday, the article titled "Build Walls on Seafloor to Stop Glaciers Melting, Scientists Say." And the subtext is, barriers could halt slide of undersea glaciers and hold back sea level rises predicted to result from global warming. Building walls on the seafloor may become the next frontier of climate science as engineers seek novel ways to hold back the sea level rises predicted to rise from global warming. By erecting barriers of rock and sand, researchers believe they could halt the slide of undersea glaciers as they disintegrate into the deep. It would be a drastic endeavor, but could buy some time if climate change takes hold, according to a new paper published on Thursday in the Cryosphere Journal from the European Geosciences Union. Though the notion may sound far-fetched, the design would be relatively straightforward. Michael Wolovic, a researcher at the Department of Geosciences at Princeton University in the U.S., described the plans as, quote, within the order of magnitude of plausible human achievements, end quote, and he said, quote, we are imagining very simple structures, simply piles of gravel or sand on the ocean floor, end quote. The structures would not just be aimed at holding back the melting glaciers, but at preventing warmer water from reaching the bases of the glaciers under the sea. New research is now being undertaken by scientists showing how the effects of the warmer water around the world as the oceans warm may be the leading cause of underwater melting of the glaciers. And then there are some diagrams, and the article goes on a bit longer. And once again, I will include a link to the article in the video description so you can read the rest of it for yourself. And now on to another bit of potentially good news. So this is from CBC News, a Canadian Canadian media outlet. In their technology and science section, also from yesterday, the 20th of September 2018. Researchers discover planet Vulcan from Star Trek, sort of. Super Earth planet is just 16 light years from Earth. There is a picture that is an artist's conception of what the newly discovered planet might look like. Star Trek fans take note, the planet Vulcan is real. It may not be inhabited by green-blooded, pointy-eared humanoids that we know of, and it's not even formally named Vulcan, but this newly discovered planet orbits a star that Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry once claimed to be the parent star of his fictional planet Vulcan, home to the famous character of Mr. Spock. The discovery of the planet just 16 light years away makes it the closest super-Earth, a rocky planet larger than our own, discovered to date. The planet orbits a star known as 40 Eridani Alpha, a part of a triple star system. It can be found in the constellation Eridanus near Orion, a winter constellation in the northern hemisphere. After a few Star Trek books named the star system as home to Vulcan over the years, Roddenberry, along with 3 scientists from the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, wrote a letter in 1991 to the astronomy magazine Sky and Telescope, naming 40 Eridani Alpha as the star around which Vulcan orbited. And then there's a nice picture of Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Spock, and it goes on a bit longer. So again, I'm not going to read the entire article to you. There's a picture of the of the monument, the statue, I guess, of the Starship Enterprise from the motion picture era in the town of Vulcan, which is, I believe, in Alberta. It's somewhere in Canada. Yeah, Alberta. And then a little bit more of the text and so forth. So again, if you would like to read this for yourself, please check back later, and the links should be in the video description by then. I am going to go ahead and add them now, and hopefully there's someone in the antechamber waiting to join me. Nope, nobody here, so you're just going to have to listen to me babble as I as I try to get these links put in. Now, my plan for these pre-Saints shows is to go about an hour and 45 minutes, but you know, I may not go that long tonight if I don't have anyone else to hop in here. I didn't want to use as many stories as I did last week and the week before, because that took up the majority of the stream, and I would like for anyone who would like to come in from my subscribers and patrons, of which I have none, no patrons, to come in and you know, engage in some chat about whatever happens to be on their mind, or whatever news they have seen that I haven't covered, and so forth. Let's see here. Yeah. So unfortunately, I don't see anyone present at the moment in the antechamber, which is the channel I have set up for people to hop in if they want to, you know, come into the stream and talk about whatever, or you know, hawk their own YouTube channel, or you know, their blog, or you know, their Twitter account or whatever. Often we in the past have talked about history, we've talked about economics, we've talked about politics quite a lot, of course. We've talked a little bit about philosophy, we've talked about sacred tradition, we've talked about linguistics, we've talked about all kinds of interesting things, or at least interesting to me, and I assume to those who were in here with me talking about them. If you are not familiar with my channel, my regular channel, you might not know what all I do. I mostly talk about philosophy. I am trained academically in philosophy. I do have a degree in philosophy. That was one of my 2 majors as an undergraduate. And I did go on to graduate school in a related field. That was actually even more related to my other major, but you can find out more about that by going and looking at my intro, teaser, whatever video to my regular channel, which is called Giovanna Liviana. I hope that all of this copyright strike will be resolved by this time next week, so that I don't have to do this again, because I don't really have any subscribers to this channel, I don't think. I might have a handful, I don't know. I can't see if I have any subscribers or not from my view of it. But anyway, so yeah, we talk about a variety of things, and I do my own videos without anyone else there, of course. Things that I've prepared myself, wherein I talk about history and philosophy and politics and economics and social matters, and occasionally I might even talk a little bit about linguistics, or historical linguistics is one of my fascinations, if you will. I mean, if you want to tune in and go check out my other channel, I'm going to put a link to my other channel here in this video description as well, so you can go and check that out if you like. And you know, please do, because I mean, if you're interested in politics and commentary on society and economics and history and so forth, if you're interested in philosophy, I you know, not to toot my own horn too much, but I think I do a pretty good job there. covering those subjects. So let's see. I don't really have anything else prepared for this stream because, like I said, I wanted to leave time for other people to come in if they wanted to. And I still don't see anyone in the antechamber, which is a bit odd because normally I have 2 or 3 people come in. And you know, the time change may have adversely affected my fellow streamers, but at any rate, I thought it would be better for some of them because they are in Europe. Some of them are in Europe, and they have complained in the past about how late my streams were on Friday nights, and how they wished that I would do them earlier. So I am doing them earlier now, and they should be, you know, more comfortable time for them to come in. I guess I've moved it back an hour or 2 earlier than my usual time was. So there, you know, I also have another person in Central Europe who has expressed an interest in coming on the stream sometime, but he also was not too happy with the time slot I was in at the time. So, you know, maybe he will come in eventually as well, which would be cool. Anyway, so if anyone in the audience, all 1 of you or 2 of you out there right now has any comments or questions, this would be the time to pipe up and ask or say whatever you want to say. And I will have a look here in just a moment as soon as I finish adding these links to the video description for your convenience. And then I will reply as necessary. So let's see. Yeah, this one, glorious. Yes, Star Trek, Planet Vulcan. Squee like a fangirl. Because I am a Trekker, and I have been a Trekker since 1966, when the show, the original series Star Trek, first aired its first episode. I was probably a little too young to know anything about it at the time, because I was very young in September of 1966. But Star Trek has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. And so, yeah, it's an important thing to me. I am a fan of Star Trek, but I'm not a Trekkie. I'm a Trekker. So there is that. All right, let me go ahead and see if I can find my main channel and put a link to that in here. So that might be of interest to someone who might have been watching or catch this show later. I do apologize for all the throat clearing and coughing and the like. I am running on 3 hours of sleep last night, and I spent a relatively extended period of time today in a conversation with someone, so my throat is a bit sore. I also have gastric reflux disease, so I'm out of Nexium. I just took I was surprised that I found any, because I thought I'd been through everything and looked to see what I had. But I did find 1 bottle in one of my purses earlier with 2 caplets of Nexium in it, so that might help to calm some of this down, but obviously it's not going to do it right now. Okay, so now let me have a look and see if anyone is saying or asking anything out there. I don't see anything. Is anybody out there? Just nod if you can hear me, or don't nod, but you know, type something in the chat and let me know if you have any comments or questions about any of the news that I've gone over so far, or any comments or questions about my main channel or the situation regarding it at the moment. Because, like I said, I don't really have anything else on the agenda tonight. I mean, there's plenty of other news I can go over, but yeah. Oh yes, there is something I did want to talk about otherwise. There is a young woman that I know by the name of Nicole, and she is a trans woman, and she was recently subjected to something unusual in Texas. No surprise there, but her name is Nicole. Transgender woman accuses plasma donation center of discrimination. She did talk with me about this. I guess it's been 2 or 3 weeks ago. She talked with several of us about this. This is in San Antonio. This is from, what is this, KSAT ABC 12 News. A transgender woman claims a local plasma donation center violated the city's non-discrimination ordinance by deferring her because of her gender identity. Nicole Throckmorton, 33, said she tried to donate plasma at the Biotest Plasma Center at Northwest Loop 410 and San Pedro Avenue in August. She said an employee told her it was the center's policy to permanently deny transgender women from donating. She filed a complaint with the city's Office of Equity on Wednesday. This article is from yesterday, I believe. Yeah. So just this week, she did eventually file this complaint through her attorney alleging discrimination. The city's non-discrimination ordinance, commonly known as NDO, was passed in 2013 and forbids discrimination based on gender identity in places of public accommodation. A city spokesman said Thursday the city's attorney office was reviewing the complaint for its applicability to the NDO. Her lawyer, Justin Nichols, said, quote, "This is clear-cut, so if the city wants to prove that it's serious about the non-discrimination ordinance, it's going to take this case to the fullest extent of the law." Nicole said she was unemployed at the time and went to the Plasma Donation Center, which pays its donors in hopes of earning some money. She said she went through some screening measures, but she ran into a problem when she asked an employee whether the hormone replacement therapy she hoped to undergo would be an issue. Quote, "That's when she told me that they have a policy, their standard operating policy is to defer all trans women permanently," end quote. In the complaint, her lawyer, Nichols, included a letter he received from the general counsel of Biotest Pharmaceuticals Corporation, which runs the Plasma Donation Center, saying they were investigating the matter. Nichols said the company has not confirmed or denied to him whether it has such a policy. And it goes on a little bit, and so she was denied the opportunity to donate plasma solely on the basis of being transgender. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration currently recommends deferring blood donations for men who have had sex with other men in the past year, but Nicole said she doesn't sleep with men. In any case, the FDA also recommends donors be allowed to self-identify their gender for blood donation, which for Nicole Throckmorton, would be as a woman, not as a man. She said, quote, "I asked if I could go in as a woman, and they said you had to go in with your birth sex," end quote. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, end quote. And then her lawyer says, "Nothing that I've heard about this case demonstrates that Biotest had any legitimate reason to decline Ms. Throckmorton's offer to donate plasma," end quote. Nicole said she isn't looking for a settlement. She said she just wants to be able to donate and to have the policy, if there is one, overturned. And she said, quote, "I don't want anyone to feel like I did," end quote. A phone call and email to Biotest Pharmaceuticals Corporation's General Counsel were not returned to KSAT 12 News. When I posted this article to Twitter, someone replied and said, let's see, let me get this open here. Here's what I'll do. Wait, the only concern here was possible homosexuality, so there is no prohibition against people with artificially high levels of cross hormones giving blood? I guess I don't know enough about safe blood donation, because that seems odd to me. Well, first of all, she's donating plasma, not blood. There is a difference. But I replied and said, why would there be a prohibition? Male to female transsexual individuals should have serum estradiol levels in the chromosomal female range, that is less than 200 picograms per milliliter. For comparison, according to Mayo Medical Laboratories, normal levels of estradiol for menstruating women range from 15 to 350 picograms per milliliter. And so there's obviously not anything artificially high in terms of the levels of estradiol in her bloodstream anyway. So, yes, let me go ahead and add a link to this article as well in the video description. And I don't know if anyone is out there listening or not. I hope someone might be, yeah. If not, then maybe someone will come along later and watch the aftermath, so to speak, of the stream. And yeah, so if you're watching this later and you're curious, all the links to all the news I went over are in the video description. A link to my main channel is in the video description. I don't really do anything with this channel. I have uploaded a couple of gameplay videos from Star Trek Online like 3 or 4 years ago that just show one of my characters dancing. And I did upload a video, a mirror of Dr. Margaret Flower's response to President Trump's first address to a joint session of Congress in January of, no, I guess it was February, yeah, in February of 2017. And she was talking about healthcare and healthcare insurance, and specifically about H.R. 676, the National Expanded and Improved Medicare for All Act, which is a bill in the House of Representatives. And it's supposed to be the gold standard for a single-payer improved Medicare for all system. So, that would be a good thing for you to watch. But I also have that on my main channel. I've got a transcript I prepared myself for the video on my on the Progressive Flame, which is my publication at Medium, where there are many other links. And let's see. Oh yes, I did the closed captioning for the video on both of my channels. So yeah, you can rest assured that the closed captioning is an accurate presentation of what Dr. Flowers said on that occasion. Now, I did leave out some of the ums and ahs, which I know my boyfriend would love me to leave out of my own videos, but sometimes, yeah, I just did it there. Sometimes I don't really have anything prepared other than, I mean, a lot of times I do write a script for my videos well in advance, because I do like to research what I'm going to talk about. If it's something that I'm not very familiar with, if it's something that I studied in university or graduate school, I can probably talk about it for hours without the need for a script. But then I tend to chase rabbits, and he gets on me about that. So One time I actually wrote a script and wrote a rabbit chase into it and waited for him to say something about it. And when he did, I said, "Oh no, I didn't get off the topic. I didn't leave." I said, "I didn't deviate from the script. I wrote that rabbit chase into the script." But anyway, I guess let me take another look here and see if anyone is in the antechamber. Doesn't look like it. I'm not sure. Well, you know, it is the autumn equinox, but I don't think there are many of my regular subscribers who would be out celebrating that tonight. But maybe. I guess there is nothing that the one person watching or two people watching, it's hard to say. I think one of those two people is me, but then there should be someone else out there, I assume. And if so, then I guess you don't have any comments or questions. So I'm going to go ahead and end this stream because I don't really feel like sitting here and making my throat even more uncomfortable and the like. But if you are an actual person sitting there watching this stream, thank you very much for tuning in and listening to me stumble across the news, recent news. I like to try to cover some of the things that the mainstream media is not talking about. And so, and occasionally some of the things they're talking about with a little bit different kind of approach, because, you know, I mean, like, we all hear them talking about Syria and Russia and Turkey and things like that. So I thought it was interesting to see from a different perspective than what the establishment wants to feed us. Like, I'm just dying here from nothing else to say, so I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. Thanks for tuning in, and please check out my other channel, my main channel. And so until next time, have fun, but stay safe. For Republic News, this is Liviana signing off.